that often raises numerous questions about the nature of reality itself. So I want to encourage you to think, what is reality? Is it a construct topic that is it a construct shaped by the workings of our minds, influenced by numerous other factors, including our emotions, beliefs, and our psychological disorders? Or is it an objective truth, untouched by the lens of our own experiences and perception? The human mind is a complex tapestry woven with threads of cognition, emotion, and perception. Yet when the threads unravel and the patterns distort, the fabric of reality may sometimes appear fragmented, distorted, or altogether elusive. This is where the intersection between reality perception and psychological disorders becomes a fascinating terrain to explore. This is an incredibly important topic too, for several reasons. Understanding how psychological disorders affect our reality perception can shed light onto the human condition. It can also provide valuable insights into the experience of those living with mental illnesses, helping us to empathize with them more and understand their struggles more. Some individuals experience major mental health issues regarding perception. Humans use their senses to shape an overall sentiment about the world around us. Sadly, sometimes where the interpretation of stimuli happens in our brain, it cannot go accordingly, whether it may be a defect coming from birth, a later occurred defect, or a very traumatic experience. It can lead us to the brain interpreting stimulus wrong and differently from other individuals. Cottage syndrome is an example of this. Individuals with Cottage syndrome experience fundamental distortion in their reality of self-existence. They may genuinely believe that they are deceased or have ceased to exist in some way, despite evidence on the contrary. In some cases, though, the patient only believes that some parts of their body are deceased, leading them to ignore the needs of that specific body part. As an illustration, a person with Cottage syndrome may believe that their digestive system is non-existent and deny their hunger, resulting in them not eating in many days, and then eventually, leading them to death because of extreme starvation. These people may interpret ordinary stimuli around them as evidence of their deceased state and the unreality of the world. They may see living beings as ghosts, and they may see ordinary activities as happening in an afterlife-like realm. These completely messes up their reality perception, because for them there is no reality to even start with. They see real events as delusions and hallucinations. They may even express feelings of alienation from their loved ones, viewing relationships as irrelevant in their context of delusional beliefs. This can further isolate them from societal support networks and rekindle their sense of detachment from reality. It can also lead to self-harm and attempts of suicide to prove their lack of existence. Antin-Babinski syndrome presents another intriguing case study where individuals are blind, but they deny or fail to recognize their blindness. The relationship between Antin-Babinski syndrome and reality perception is complex and underscores several intriguing aspects of how perception operates in the human brain. Despite being blind, individuals with Antin-Babinski syndrome often exhibit a lack of awareness or insight into their visual impairment. They may adamantly insist that they can see and describe vivid visual scenes, demonstrating a dissociation between their sense of reality and the actual reality. Confabulation is another aspect of Antin-Babinski syndrome, where individuals fabricate or even invent visual stimuli to fill in the gaps in their distorted reality perception. The brain's capacity for adaptation and reorganization, also known as neuroplasticity, plays a big role in this syndrome, making patients believe their own lie. Damage to the visual processing areas of the brain can lead to compensatory changes in other regions too, leading patients to believe their own lie. This phenomenon suggests that perception is not solely dependent on sensory inputs, but also influenced by cognitive processes such as memory, imagination, and belief systems. The brain's ability to generate perceptual experiences in the absence of visual stimuli challenges our understanding of subjective reality and the construction of personal experience. It highlights the nature of perception and raises questions about the nature of consciousness, self-awareness, and the relationship between perception and reality. Last but not least, I want to talk about the Capgras syndrome. Capgras syndrome is a very psychiatric disorder where individual holds the delusional belief that someone that they love, usually a family member or a friend, has been replaced by an identical-looking imposter. This syndrome is often associated with schizophrenia, dementia, and brain injuries, particularly in the areas involved in face recognition and emotional processing. In Capgras syndrome, individuals can visually recognize the faces of their loved ones, but they lack the they lack the response typically associated with familiarity. This suggests a dissociation between perceptual recognition and emotional processing. The delusional belief that a familiar person has been replaced by an identical-looking imposter reflects a distortion in how perception is interpreted and integrated in one's understanding of reality. Despite visual recognition, individuals with this syndrome interpret the perceived discrepancies as evidence of deception and substitution. Capgras syndrome challenges the coherence of personal identity and relationships, the discrepancy between perceived identity of a loved one and the delusional belief of impostership create a state of psychological distress and confusion. In conclusion, these syndromes that I've talked before, such as Coded syndrome, Demirci syndrome, and the Capgras syndrome, illustrate the fragility of human perception. They reveal that our grasp on reality is not merely a reflection of external factors, but a mix of sensory input, cognitive processing, and emotional response. This exploration of the disorder underscores the truth. The reality as experienced by every individual is deeply subjective. Our minds, with all their potential vulnerabilities, shape the world we perceive. The distortions in perception seen in these disorders challenge us to reconsider the nature of reality, urging us to acknowledge that what we deem to be real is, in many ways, a construct of our consciousness. Before I leave the stage, I want to add one little thing. It is crucial to acknowledge and pay respect to everybody's opinion about reality, whether it may square with ours or not. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you have a wonderful day.